Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. We have such an interesting conversation today, one that we've been working on putting together for many weeks because we are talking to people whose busyness would scare you to death at certain times of year. In fact, there's a moment I need to share with you about what's happening today in that Jürgen Boos, our president and CEO of Frankfurter Buchmesse here, was hoping to be with us this afternoon. He wanted to be here and join in the conversation, of course. And unfortunately, some of the duties of the fair that are going on right now have called him away. And he won't be able to join us, but he sends his best and his regrets. And we have wonderful people to talk with. But it is something of a demonstration of how busy these things can get in the fact that he can't join us. There's an irony there. And this makes perfect sense to anybody who does the kind of work that these folks do. Let me quickly let you know who you're listening to when they start speaking. This is Eva Oroy, who is from Madrid, and she is the first woman director of the Madrid Festival, the Madrid Book Fair. 80 years, is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Finally, they figured out they needed a woman at the helm, you see. Yes.
I have to say that I'm also the first person from Zaragoza directing the book fair, so I guess that there is no one from Zaragoza in the auditorium. It will work. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and finally in person, exactly. And you know, it's a little bit like Winston Churchill said, you know, you just keep doing the wrong thing and finally you get it right. So obviously there's great celebration in Madrid. And for all of us, Eva has in fact gone through the first cycle of production, and some of the things that she'll be sharing with you, this is something I love about all of our speakers, are challenges, shall we say, that's the nice word, that not problems, challenges, that you would never imagine they had to think about when they're putting up something that sounds as wonderful as a book fair. We all love them, that's why we're here. You will find this a very interesting conversation. Next in line here is Joel Makov, who is the amazing director of the Jerusalem International Book Forum. And I'm saying forum to you very carefully because this is a successor to the International Book Fair that was in Jerusalem for so many years. And there's a great deal of courage in what Joel has done because he's turned this into something for the industry, and those of us who are here, and for the world of books itself, not just for the public that enjoys books. We love our public, don't get me wrong. We love our consumers, every one of them. But what we do need, as so many of us here at Frankfurt understand, is the chance to talk with each other and the chance to enrich our own industry and our own collegial understanding of what we are in such forums as Joel has begun to produce on a biennial basis. It is quite a wonderful experience. I've been lucky enough to be there twice now, as well as involved in a digital presentation of it. Yeah, so Joel, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, I will be happy to share with you actually what caused us and what were the reason why we decided to change from a traditional book fair into international book forum, which I believe at the end it actually serves the same major goal, which is books, publishing, and audience.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. It's a great story. I was lucky to see some of this as it was happening at the time, and it's been fascinating to see. Aliou Sow is with us from Conakry, and this is a children's international book fair we'll be talking with him about. One of great position in Africa, where, of course, there is a fast rising understanding of the community of books. We see this from country to country now, not only in Guinea, but particularly in Ghana, in Kenya. I was lucky enough to be in Nairobi a couple of years ago at a wonderful festival and seminar there that the International Publishers Association created. The movement and the energy is just amazing in the continent. And where it can go is so exciting because it still feels early, you know? I mean, we're not talking about the 80-year-old festival, and we're not talking about the history of Jerusalem, for heaven's sake. In a case like this, we're looking at something that feels brand new. And I'm glad we have you with us, Aliou. I hesitate to ask, when you get up in the morning and it's time to produce the fair, does it feel brand new to you too?
A little bit, yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some ideas about the Conakry International Children Book Fair.
Yep.
That is one of the very rare, book fair dedicated to children books in Africa. Most of the fairs are general books and so, but this one is typically dedicated to children, to build reading habits, to build love for books, for reading, etc. So thank you. I'm happy to be here to share some thought with all of you.
This is great. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. And already we're getting an insight there that this is not the norm in that part of the world. And then joining us on the end there is Rex Howe, who is a publisher and an author, and also the chairman of the Taipei International Book Exhibition, an extraordinary fair. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. It is based in, I love this about the fair in Taipei, Rex. It's based in a beautiful structure, a wonderful center, exhibition center, and you're there and you're seeing so much, and it's so full and vibrant, and everybody is so committed. And then all of a sudden you leave that building and walk into an entirely bigger building, and that's where the children's work is. It's just amazingly large, and the response of the population is extraordinary. Taipei and Taiwan all across is very much a reading culture, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I myself, as a publisher with more than 40 years career, and I'm the co-founder of Taipei Book Fair Foundation. And now, today, I'm representing Isabella Wu. She's the chairman of the foundation now, but today she's not here, so I'm representing her. And Taipei Book Fair marked its 30 years anniversary this year. And as Porter said, that it's not only the most dynamic in the whole Chinese-speaking world, because we are a democratic society, but also I believe this is one of the most influential book fairs in Asia. We're trying to be the gate of Asia, because Taiwan is in the middle of the east part of Asia, so we can be a meeting point for the Southeast Asia's publishers, and also from the Northeast, the publishers like from Japan and Korea. So that's a very interesting location and the point of Taipei Book Fair. I'd like to share more about that later.
I love what you're talking about in terms of the geography, because yes, that's exactly the kind of positioning you've got. The energy is what impresses me when I'm there, the dynamic. And I had heard of this from authors before. One of them I can remember specifically is Howe. Some of you may know of Howe, the Dune trilogy. Had gone, I think, when either his second or third book was being released in Taiwan, and he said he had never had such an avid readership turn up to talk to him. And this is something that is wonderful for us in the publishing side to see, because so frequently we're thinking about the rights trades and we're thinking about the business we're doing and everything. And when you hear this from an author, you know you're in a big hotbed of literary interest, that they're getting that kind of energy.
Yeah, so from the very first, from the beginning, we tried to build up this fair with 3 different functions. The first one is the international cultural exchanges, and the second one is the improvement of the publishing expertise, and the third one is the promotion of just the ordinary people's reading life. So we there is professional days, but also for the general audience, the fair. So we made a beautiful combination of the professional fair and consumers fair.
This is, and of course, Yoel has such an interesting take on that when we talk about the professional versus the public. But all of these fairs, to one degree or another, deals with that question And I think so often as we go around the world every year with Publishing Perspectives, looking at some of these projects, we see the evolution of, well, what is our professional program? How much weight do we give it versus what is the public-facing program? Where is the interest? Where is the pressure? And it can change quite radically. I've been fascinated to see some of the programs that have come in, strong professional programs, attached to otherwise public opening fairs, right? This is possible, but always tricky, trying to get that fine line just where you need it. What we're going to do now, thank you for all of these comments from you guys. Oh, thank you for our clock back. That's good. We're in much better hands now. I can tell what time it is. We were a little bit lost in Antarctica before that. We had no clock. What we're going to do now is a really journalistic approach. You know, people like me, we have this question we always want to ask is, but what's going wrong with what you're doing? Because here of course, when we're here at Frankfurt, we celebrate all the good things that are going right, and fortunately, many things are. Winter is coming. We're aware that there are pressures, but at the same time, we love to make sure we understand how well we're reaching our public and how important that is. At the same time, these folks are people who have to be problem solvers, because when they are the ones bringing the books to the public and to the professional side, they are under enormous pressure. What I have found so fascinating in being in touch with each of them beforehand is how different each of these pressures are according to where you are. I'd love to start with Eva, because I will set this up without giving anything away. I was lucky enough to be at one edition of the fair during the earlier pandemic years. Let's see, this would have been September, not the one we just passed, but the one before, so September 21. I had a chance to be there and discovered how beautiful El Retiro Park is, the setting. A wonderful place, and I felt perfectly delighted to see bookstalls up and down the rows all over this gorgeous facility in Madrid. It is just a beautiful place. Eva, tell us why that's a problem, or a challenge, let us say.
Well, you saw the small fair,
Yes.
but the big one is much bigger than the one that you saw.
Aha,
Yeah, because it was in
That was
2020 we didn't have a fair.
That's right.
2021 we have this one that you visited.
It was kind of the smaller, yes, right.
The usual one is almost the double.
And I think it's
Okay.
3 million people?
3 million visits.
Yep,
Huh?
3 million visits.
Yeah, in 17 days,
Oh.
which in a historical site, which is
Right.
really challenging.
Here's the challenging point.
Yeah, that's it. So let me just explain to you that El Retiro is a historic park
Right.
in the heart of Madrid. So at the beginning of May, there is nothing in there related to a fair. 3 weeks later, we have built 400 booths for booksellers, publishers, and distributors, and some institutions that come to the book fair. We have toilets, we have a bank, we have an ambulance, we have 4 big pavilions, 160 square meters. We work in there for 17 days, 3.1 million visits, and then we left. So that was our big fair after the pandemics. All this building is quite challenging because we cannot put a nail. So we cannot nail anything to the ground, and we have to respect the trees. We have to be at least at 1 meter from the trees. I insist, El Retiro is not just a park, it's not a garden, it's a historical garden, and now we are in a World Heritage axis.
This was what I was waiting to hear. What you're understanding now is that these are not just trees. These are UNESCO designated historic trees. Yes, these are the trees that you're probably shot if you get too close to, right? For all the right reasons. I mean, it's a beautiful environmental site.
Yeah, it is.
But imagine, what do you do with those 3 million visits? It's an incredible question. And to be there, you would never think this, you see.
No, when I was elected at the beginning of the year, I have been in position for less than a year.
Right.
And when I was elected, I was thinking about authors, literature, glamour. And at the end, in Spanish, we say hacer mucha plancha. So we have a lot to iron. So we have to talk about construction of ephemeral buildings.
Right.
We have to talk about toilets, I'm sorry. We have to talk about water. We don't have water. We don't have power supply. So we have to go to this park with generators, with big bottles of water, not bottles, but tanks of water,
Tanks,
thank
yes,
you. And the work is not exactly literary, we say. And this is a popular fair, we say. In Spain, all the fairs are popular, open to the public. We have just a professional fair, Liber, and the rest, they are like El Retiro fair, but smaller,
Right.
with the exception maybe of Sant Jordi in Catalonia, which is really big. So what is the idea? In Spain, the study says that 1 out of 2 people never set a foot on a bookshop. And we don't read very much. So the idea is that if the readers are not coming to the booksellers, let the booksellers to go to find the readers.
Right.
That's the idea, roughly explain it. We have booksellers, we have publishers, we have distributors, and we have institutions, and all of them sell their books directly to the public, which is weird. The fair belongs to the booksellers of Madrid, so I'm paid by the booksellers of Madrid, but the organizing committee, we have the 3 guilds implicated in the book fair. I repeat, booksellers, publishers, and editors. Right. We get along quite well, but we have our problems, mainly because editing in Spain is just becoming crazy. We have more and more publishers, which is good for the publishing sector, but it's a headache for the direction of the fair. We don't have the space enough to put all these people in the fair. So I don't want to be very long in this first intervention. I will tell you some of the challenges we are facing. Right now we are rewriting our constitution, our reglamento. We have changing our web because we want it to be accessible in a AA standard. We will have very soon a new logo. We are redefining our sponsorship strategies, which is important because we receive money from the Madrid City Council and the Madrid regional government. And obviously, all the exhibitors pay for being there, but still, we need some more money to pay mainly for the cultural programming, which is huge. The fair takes place in 17 days. If we want to get bigger, we need the social networks, online, streaming, webs, because we can reach Spanish-speaking readers all over the world, mainly in Latin America and the States. There's a quite, not literary problem again. We receive very important figures of the Spanish literature, but we receive also YouTubers, Instagrammers, celebrities that come to the Retiro to meet with the readers. This is the main thing in the Retiro and the Madrid Book Fair. People come to visit us because they can see and talk to the readers and they can get a dedication. So all these people who are very popular, but literally speaking, they are maybe not very important. Anyway, they are there, and sometimes we have to face a queue of 4,000 people in a park. The popular success of the fair is evident. 3.1 million visits is enormous. We have to ensure that this massive influx of people comes along with improving of the sales. And we are working very hard on the sustainability of our project. We need to be green. This is not greenwashing, this is a compromise. Because if we are not green, we will not keep El Retiro as our site. And El Retiro is the heart of the feria. It's in the middle of Madrid, everyone comes to El Retiro. So being there is a challenge, it's an opportunity, it's difficult, it's all together. You have to come to Madrid to have a look.
I think we do. I think it's suddenly making me feel a whole lot better about that incredible line that was up there at the city gate the other morning when none of us could get in very fast because they were clicking along.
Yeah, usually we don't have those lines,
right?
Because the fair is open. You can enter this way.
Aha.
So we have something like
Parkway, yeah.
5 or 6 big entries, and the rest, we cannot close the alleys in the park. So we don't have an entry and an exit.
Right, you just have 4,000 people coming right in.
You were there the wrong year.
I'll have to come back.
Yeah.
I'm coming back for yours. Yeah, so I say the right thing, you see? Gosh, that's fascinating. Thank you. Thank you. This is already scaring me to death. Joel, I want to talk to you about what you're doing, because as I see it, and Sharon and I have had so many great emails back and forth arranging things, and sometimes I've been given something of an understanding of what you guys can be up against. This is a great pride for Jerusalem, of course, but at the same time, this is a city project to some degree, right?
Of course, it's definitely a city project.
Yeah.
Because the Jerusalem Book Forum is owned by Jerusalem City.
There you go.
Of course, we get sponsors from some publisher around the world,
Right.
but it is a city program, and it was quite difficult to convince the city that we set up a project in Jerusalem mainly for the international professional public,
Right.
and to somehow the local people will benefit less than this.
Right.
So one of the things that we do in overcome this problem is we join our professional meetings with the Author Festival in Jerusalem. So actually we are dealing with the two sides, as I said, books have three different important essence. It is the writer, then the one who produced the book, publisher, and all around, editors, and then the public.
Right.
You don't need books if nobody reads them. So, we used to have in Jerusalem for many, many years a traditional book fair. Right. I think it's not the right word to talk about traditional book fair because at the end, as you said and yourself, each place developed its own book fair according to the local needs and the local demands.
Right.
So our book fair was very Jerusalem, and we, from the very beginning, based our book fair on cultural event, and also we were the first one who set up a program for editors around the world. The first international editorial fellow program was in our book fair. Until today, without being modest, it is one of the better ones.
It is, and it is exactly. It's the model for the Frankfurt Fellowship.
So then we realized that we put a lot of effort in our book fair and presenting book, while in Israel, we have what we call the Book Week, the Hebrew Book Week, which go all around the country, and there people can come and buy books. So what you actually explained what happened in Madrid, we have it in a different way. So that's why the reasons that we decided, okay, let's concentrate on what we are good and what we can do, and prepare a setup of lectures, panels for the professional people to come to Israel. Let's keep the fellowship program for editors. Now we have agent as well in this program. And see that for the public we'll have the Author Festival. So in this respect, I believe, and what's really what I believe about book fair, it still serves the publishing, and not serve, but I will say that it's part of the publishing. I think that book fair, in a way, should be part of the publishing. It's not in the service of the publishing. And although we don't sell books, but still one of our panels is actually deal with distributing books, problem of how to, with all the new methods, audiobooks and this sort of thing, we are all deal with this problem. So our concern now is not how to manage 3 million people in the crowd, which I don't envy you, but really how to manage to set up a program that will be interesting enough, relevant enough for the international international professional to come all the way to Jerusalem and spend a whole week with us. We try to really try to build the right venue for intimate, good relation meeting. And in this respect, we really believe that we are not in all the respect of the publishing, but some of the aspects are really full covered by us.
And even the biennial aspect is tricky, isn't it? Because you're having to pitch forward and say, I think this issue will be there when we get there, right? Yeah. That's hard.
It's really because publishing is a very dynamic
Exactly.
scenery.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we start to plan something and it's turned to be not that relevant anymore, so we have to change it.
Yeah.
It's also very difficult to recruit, the right people, the international publishing, to come to Jerusalem. and be interesting enough for us and for the audience as well, and for the professional. So that's another story. And I think that the easiest part was to recruit participants for the fellowship program, because it's well known, and we always have more than 10 times applicants than the places that we actually can have in our program.
Yeah, I'm sure. The reputation is so good. Everyone wants to get into the ZEV program. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a wonderful program, and what I like is there are points at which the professional group, those of us who are there, get to meet with the fellows too, which is great.
The whole idea in Jerusalem is really to set up a kind of intimacy that people can bump into each other.
Right,
Not, look, if you come to Frankfurt, if you don't organize a proper program of meetings, at the end, although everybody is here, you won't see anybody.
Right.
While in Jerusalem, it's, as I said, it's still small enough to be intimate and give opportunity to meet each other, talk, and have a nice time together. Yeah. But on the other hand, because of the people who are there and the relations that they set up, at the end it turned to be very business mind, because, you know, in publishing, especially in publishing, contact are very important to set up relations that at the end you know the right people, you know to whom to approach for a book, for an idea. So that's, in a way, for long terms, it's a very business mind place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Very complex dynamic going on there. And I think so far you've pulled it off beautifully. But
thank you.
The more I hear you talk about it, the more everything you're saying makes perfect sense, having seen it in action. It is a wonderful spot to just run right into somebody whose work you might have been watching from afar for a decade or so, and you go, my gosh, that's who that is. And suddenly you get to have a chat. It's an incredible thing. And everyone loves that interaction, so it's marvelous. Aliou, let's talk with you a little bit about what you face, what are your challenges when you try to put this Children's International Book Fair into place in Conakry, and that's not the norm. It's not what people expect. Do you get much pushback? And if you do, who is it you need to convince in your culture that this needs to happen and how important it is?
Thank you. To just make a little bit history about this children book fair, we launched the first edition in 2017 by the occasion that Conakry was at that time the World Book City.
Exactly.
So we said, now we are seeing some book fairs around some countries, both English-speaking countries, French-speaking countries, etc., across the continent. But generally speaking, none of them is really oriented towards books for children. Mm-hmm. And we know how much African population is young. More than 65% of the population in some countries are under 25, even 20 years. So if we want to build a society of readers, to have reading habits implemented in the society, and to give opportunity to students in school or in families to read and understand what they are reading, we need first to show that there are children books available. Because of, in the general mind of many people around Africa, they think that there are no children books produced by African publishers. And now we, specifically in the Francophone speaking countries area, we need to show ourselves and to the audiences, parents, teachers, students, that they are books. And that's why because I am a children book publisher since 30 years in Guinea, but still, many people think that there is nothing. But it is not the case only for Guinea, for many French-speaking African countries. So that now we are organizing in next November from 7th to 10th, the 6th edition. And we are trying year by year to widen the road. I'm sorry for my bad English, by the way.
Oh, you're doing very well. It's good.
We are trying to push for it. Remember that there was the Cape Town Book Fair that has some years ago, like Harare Book Fair, sometimes with international book fairs. But all those almost collapsed. We are still thinking why are the causes, so that to my mind, as the initiator and the manager of this International Children Book Fair, my main challenge is how to try to strengthen this book fair to make it survive over the years. Because if after 2 more years, 3 more years, because of we are not getting any funding like from the government in my country, but we are still relying on the confidence we have from our donors, namely international cooperation. But you cannot sustain a book fair only based on external donations. We need to that is why now I am trying with my team to open as well the way for books written in African languages. It's very, very important because sometimes people buy those kind of books thinking that they are, how you call it in English, sub-quality books.
Oh, substandard, yes.
Substandard books,
Exactly.
but there are not.
Yep.
But just they think that because it's an African languages, it's not the right quality books like in French, English, Portuguese, etc.
Right.
And yeah.
This is the case in many of your cultures, I think. In many markets in Africa, the imported books are the ones that get all the attention, and the actual local material fights and fights to try to get any kind of attention. Could I ask you this? How good is the community response to your fair? I mean, do they come? Do the families come? Do people want to be at the book fair when it's time?
Yes, it's not that easy, but
Really?
more and more we are seeing more involvement because we are involving public schools, not only the private ones, where the parents are, let's say, a little bit rich, but in public schools, there are children from poor families, and we are trying more and more to involve them, and they are coming. So parents are coming with their kids. I can say yes, there are a lot to do on that side to have a community involved. But the good thing is that now we are saying that because it's the International Book Fair in Conakry, we need to have a partnership, an official partnership with the local authorities, Conakry. That is the governorate for Conakry. And we are getting now very, very good support from the governorate. And this was not the case even 1 year before. And I hope that building on that starting support from the city governorate, maybe we will have all the mayors of the sub-cities around Conakry that will help us to push reading activities to schools, not only in the central city, but other schools in needs, because all the schools are in need of books. And last thing I wanted to add is that my personal feeling, and in link with this panel, is that there is a need to my vision to try how to set up a cooperation between book fairs management. Because if we are at the 6th edition, maybe Jerusalem or Taipei or Spain are 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. We need to share ideas, experiences, and to support each other, at least in terms of communication, visual knowledge, etc., etc.
Exactly.
Okay, can I give you a very short answer?
Yes.
We have it. We have this kind of a group of book directors that now we usually once in a month have a Zoom meeting. We all come here to the different book fair, and of course we share idea, we share problems, and sometimes support, spiritual support in order to survive during different times. So it is, and I will let you know immediately when we finish. So it is existing.
That's a good.
That's fantastic, and we should say that in fact many of the programs happening right in this room this week are supported by Aldous Up, which is a system, a network of about 16 fairs in the European space, working very well together. And of course, Frankfurt is a member, and that has, I think, been very helpful at many points.
Yeah, Madrid as
Ava,
well.
you're familiar
Yeah.
with this,
Yeah, Madrid as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We
No,
have just, let me add that we
Yeah.
have, in the Spanish-speaking world, we have a small advantage, is that in Latin America, Spain and Latin America, we work together. We can talk almost every day. A lot of directors are here right now, and we go from one fair to the other, and we will share knowledge and experiences, yes.
Yeah, I know this is true because Marisol Schultz has told me that she loves the communication from Mexico, from Guadalajara.
It's not an structure, it's
Right.
just the idea that we can talk. It's quite easy, so
Exactly.
let's do it.
Because when you think about it, there are very few of these people in the world. I mean, there is one for each of these fairs, when in fact, look at all of us who come to these fairs, for heaven's sake. It's quite a rare position and a very unusual look at the whole thing. Rex, talk to us, because as you can tell, I've had these wonderful experiences with Taipei and how beautiful a show it is. What am I not seeing? What are the challenges that the foundation knows about that I would not know because I'm the journalist having a marvelous time covering a beautiful fair? What are you guys up against?
Before the pandemic, there were two things to be talked about. The first one is that we can see that a slow but continuous decline of the book market, the sales. And on the other hand, the book fair, the Taipei Book Fair, has been keep on growing, and the audience number grew to almost 1 million visits a year. And also all the seminars, book launches, conferences, the kind of events. 4 years before the pandemic, it was about only 500, and up to the year 2019, it became 1,100.
Wow.
So there is a question. So why so many people wanted to come to the fair to listen to the speeches? My personal observation was that just because the market was declining, so all the bookstores are in quite a difficult period. Right. And so they didn't have so many resources and time to do more promotions like that as before. So the readers wanted to see the editors, see the writers themselves, and to listen to the explanation on the spot. That was my personal observation. And then the pandemic came, and Taipei Book Fair stopped in year of 2020. And last year, 21st, as I said, we had 3 functions: the International Cultural Exchange and the professional programs and promotion of reading. And last year, only we had the professional programs. And this year, in these 2 years between, something more worrisome happened. That was because some newcomers from the EC part, electronic commerce part, they joined the market, and they give huge discounts because we don't have a fixed price system in Taiwan. So it kills a lot of bookstores, especially the independent bookstores. And plus this pandemic. So everyone is worried about what will happen if this year the book fair reopened, what will happen. And there was a huge debate about if we should open this fair this year. And luckily, we decided, the government, the Ministry of Culture, decided to make it open. And before the opening, the expectation was quite low. Maybe we said 20% of people, like that. But it turned out to be more than 50%. Yeah, so quite a lot. And the most interesting part is that because there are two categories of people who didn't come this year, high risk to the COVID,
Right.
the children
Right.
and elder people.
Right,
So most of the audience to the book fairs are young people.
Yeah, right.
So wow, it's really exciting and really I can see some hopes that so many people come to the fairs. So we have, again, this year around 600 speeches and book events, and all of them are full of people. And I heard from especially from the joint stand of the independent publishers, small publishers. Wow, they had never had this kind of best book fair they had. Wow, so that means really, what I thought is, yes, on one side, maybe we are complaining that less people are reading, but on the other hand, maybe we should think about the remaining people, the remaining readers, they are more dedicated to reading. So, in a way, maybe they are well ahead of us, the publishers. They demand more, so they have their more higher expectation about the publishing, about the books. And because that's why they remain. Because they remain, they kept on believing in books, so they demanded something more. So I think that it could be an incentive for us to improve ourselves first as publishers, as book fairs, directors.
Yeah, there are a couple of people now in our industry in the West who are telling us how right you are on this. The first person who really nailed it for me was Owen Purcell. He's the CEO of Amazon Publishing. That's not self-publishing, it's the publishing house for London, for the UK, and for Germany. And what Owen said is that he had a great advantage because he was at Amazon's publishing house. This is a legitimate publishing house, very big. We call it the fifth big, right, in England. If there's a big four, he's the big five, right? Yeah, it's that much. It's huge. But these are original books and everything. And what he said was, because he was at Amazon, during the depths of the pandemic original year, he could see what was happening in other art forms. He could see what was going on Amazon in movies, and he could see music, and he could see all of the things that people do with Amazon Prime, right? He saw not more people coming to do things, which is what we thought we all saw. We thought, oh, people are buying books. So many more people are buying books. No, the same people were buying books, but they were buying more books. It's the intensity you're talking about that seems to have been put into motion by the needs of the pandemic. And that, in a sense, is what we're now all chasing to try to make sure we keep it, that we can keep that intensity served. Does this make sense to you too, Eva?
The experience in Spain, according to studies, is not it's exactly the same.
Okay.
We won readers during the pandemic.
Right. You got new readers.
Yeah, new readers. Above all, teenagers, which is quite interesting.
Good.
Teenagers love paper.
Right.
The Madrid Book Fair is a paper fair.
It's a paper fair.
Yeah, we sell books. We don't sell e-books. We don't sell audio books.
Right.
And now the challenge is to retain those teenagers who came during the pandemics.
Exactly.
Because at that time, they had just a few options.
Right.
Now they have a lot more. So we need them to be with us.
Right.
And that's why we are not specialized, but we are working very, very hard on kids and teenagers books and activities for them with the schools.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting again how different these markets are, and both of you need to retain. You either want to retain the intensity or you want to retain the new readers, but both of those are very difficult things to do. We're going to need to stop in just a couple of minutes because a couple of our folks have to get away rather quickly. But I thought that if there is a question in the house that we might get to rather quickly, we should do that. Does someone have a question for one of our directors here? Okay. Oh, here's something. Yeah. There's a microphone coming to you. Hang on just a moment. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Mary Stolzenberg from Cameroon. I would like to direct a question to Mr. Mamadou from Conakry. Yeah, I'm really interested in your specialization in children's book. Now, my question is it, are you working with the English-speaking community, or you only work with the French-speaking Africans? Because what I'm thinking is there have to be some kind of, can I use the word? Some kind of synergy. Speaking as one voice in Africa, not, so please, I would like to know if you work with the others.
And Alio, you were saying that you wanted to work with the indigenous languages, right? The local languages.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Thank you. That's a very good,
question.
very interesting question. I will respond by giving saying two things. First, I'm personally very sensitive on this issue of cooperation between French-speaking and English-speaking countries, because the solution to our problems, even for the intra-African book trade, is linked to that issue. I have been the chairman of the African Publishers Network for some years ago. Maybe you know it. It's about the Pan-African Association of Publishers that gathers 46 African countries among the 54 that the continent has. Now, what we are doing is, because we are still on the years of beginning, now we are fully focused on, yes, Francophone African countries. But now we are trying to involve colleagues from Sierra Leone and Ghana. We will have in this sixth edition 2 publishers from Cameroon, but they are mainly publishing in French. This is Edition Proximité and Edition Akomamba. All those 2 are children book publishers. But there is another one who intend to come, that is NME, but it's mainly a textbook publisher, but it publishes both in English and French. So it's just a beginning. And I'm pretty sure that you are saying that if we want to sustain this book fair, because it is like, I'm not saying it is the alone, but it is one of the single who are specifically dedicated to children books. We need to have an intra-African cooperation. Thank you.
I think that's a good answer, and I like your question. It needs to have a bit of an understanding as to what is going on there and what the intent is, so you're absolutely right. I think probably we need to stop at this point. If any of you has one last burning word to say to us, go right ahead. But I want to thank you for this wonderful comments that you've made and the way you've been able to bring to life exactly what each of you is looking at for us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to be at every one of your fairs this year. So,
I want to say something, yeah. Because I said,
yeah.
as I said, I saw the serious readers now. So I hope that all of our publishers can be serious. if we do publishing, then we should do it seriously. I think that's a very good time for us to do that.
And what a great way to finish. We can wish everyone serious publishing and serious readers, indeed. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And thank you. Have a good afternoon.